Hi, this is Jim Valesky of the Warren Heritage Center, coming to you from the beautiful historic Judge Frederick Kinsman House here in downtown Warren. Normally this time of year, we have the house open to the general public to enjoy the Christmas decorations and the holiday cheer. Normally you would have children running through the hallways, decorating Christmas ornaments, and enjoying cookies and hot chocolate. Well, because of the pandemic, that has become next to impossible. But through challenges, we seize opportunities for change. This year, we're going to bring the holiday spirit to you from us here at the Kinsman House in the form of a video presentation. We're going to be looking at many different aspects of the holiday season. This holiday season is not just Christmas. There's many different nationalities and religious beliefs that we all don't know about. And so this year, learn with me as we bring you the joy and spirit of the holiday season through understanding.
So the pagan celebration of the winter solstice is on December 21st, and it is one of the oldest celebrations in the world. It marks the transfer from the cold, dark days of winter into the longer, warmer days of summer. The ancient people were hunters, and their livelihoods very much depended on the seasons and the temperatures and the weather and things like that. So that was their last big festival of the year, to celebrate the leaving of the darkness and the return of the sun. The tradition of Yule has many symbols. The most prominent one is the Yule log. The Yule log actually has its traditions from Nordic culture in Norway. When the family went out and chose a large tree and cut it down with a great deal of celebration, they carried it back into the house, and the largest part of the log was placed in the fireplace, and it was lit with the remains of the previous year's Yule log, and it burned for 12 days into Twelfth Night. The tradition then spread all throughout Europe, and they all added their own things. Traditionally, it was oak that was used, but in England they began using hickory, other areas used birch, other areas where they didn't necessarily have a house large enough to have a Christmas tree burning in their fireplace, they would use sticks and twigs. Today, with more modern heating, it's become a little difficult to burn a full-size tree. So most people have something decorative like this, where they can put either battery-operated candles or normal candles that you can burn in them, or they have a piece of oak that they will burn in their fireplace. And again, if they can have remnants from the previous year's Yule log to light it, and then they burn it every day for 12 days, again representing 12th night. Sometimes, if you don't have access to that, it's become popular to have a Yule log cake, which who doesn't like cake at the holidays? But it remains a common part of pagan and Wiccan holiday traditions, which have been incorporated in many large ways into Christian Christmas traditions. Yule historically was observed by Germanic people and can trace its history back to the Wild Hunt and Odin. Yule underwent an extensive Christian reform, resulting in many of our modern day Christmas traditions. It includes caroling, feasting, and even the tradition of the Christmas tree. By the 900s, Yule was already on the Christian calendar on the celebration for Christmas and all of its surrounding festivities. It's mentioned multiple times in the Christmas carol favorite Deck the Halls, as in troll the ancient Yuletide carol and see the blazing Yule before us. But when everybody's been singing that and fa-la-laing, has it ever occurred to you to wonder what exactly Yuletide is? Well, Yuletide is more than just a celebration of December 25th. Tide refers to a period of time that includes an anniversary or a festival. So Yuletide and Christmastide both refer to the entire holiday season. It accompanies all the music, the mistletoe, the candles, the Yule log, the gifts, everything and anything that accompanies Christmas is considered Christmastide and Yuletide. A simple modern way to incorporate a Yuletide, if you don't have a way of burning a Yule log, is to have your entire family write down what their best wishes are for the coming year. Write them down on a little piece of paper, fold it up, and you can either put it in the fireplace with your Yule log or put it in a fire-safe dish and burn it in front of your Yule log. But anyway, this is a traditional Yule altar. Again, it accompanies the Yule log. Has a piece of Palo Santo, which is used to bless the home and is supposed to ward off negative spirits. There are statues to the goddess and the god, and these can, again, be adapted to any religious form that you follow. And we have a little offering here with fresh pine and berries and mistletoe. We have a lovely candle display on both sides. And then here we have lovely little memories of Christmas, previous Christmas trees that are pressed, memories of Yule, and all the celebrations that encompass it.
Hi, I'm Justine Thomas, and with me, Melissa Keene. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you, Justine. It's an honor to be here.
I would love to know a little bit more about how you celebrate the holidays, or where did your religion, the belief, actually come from?
Well, I was raised with a very traditional Christian upbringing in the Presbyterian Church, which is still a very big part of me. It's still part of my culture. To me, there's nothing more wonderful than Christmas Eve being in the church with the candlelight service, which is something we're all going to miss greatly this year.
Yes.
But that's all right. It's better to celebrate safe at home, so we can all celebrate together next year. That's not a problem. But over the years, I guess I've just always, while I said I'm a different kind of believer. I believe in God and I believe in Christ, but I also believe in the goddess. It's something that I've come around to over the years. I've felt the energy, I've heard the call, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
It's just something that's kind of grown with me. It's keeping old traditions and learning new ones.
So what all is involved with your celebrations?
Honestly, we do a pretty traditional Christmas. We have the tree, we have the stockings, all the decorations, the gift giving. A Yule log is a big part of the celebration. We have modern things now like modern heat. So generally it's a piece of wood that's decorated with candles. These ones have nice little battery operated, which are nice because, open flames near wood, not always the best.
What kind of foods do you guys feast on?
Oh, unfortunately, everything. There's
That's
not
a
a
good
lot.
thing. I'm liking this.
Exactly, right? But along with the Yule log being burned like this, yeah, why don't you go get it? So this is a more modern way of getting a Yule log. I've seen them, a lot of bakeries carry them. You can order them online. Sometimes they have like little woodland animals done on them with, little types of dressing, but there's always the little fresh flowers on it.
Now, do you guys practice exchanging gifts?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we do at our house.
Okay.
So, but normally, yes, Yule was the traditional end of the year. The winter solstice changed over, for the older tribes, it was, or older people, excuse me, it was how they celebrated the change of the season. It was the longest night of the year, but the next day the sun started to come back, so it was the return of the sun.
Okay, and it's always been December 25th?
It's always been, no, actually it's December 21st.
Oh.
And about 900 AD is when they started, the Christians began mapping it, for lack of a better term, and mixing it into their religion, and that's how Yuletide and Christmastide are celebrated at the same time. And
I wondered. Okay.
Yeah.
It seems like everybody decided to get together and agree on one date.
Right. It seemed like through a lot of historical research, it would be like when the Christians were dealing with the pagans of the time, it would be, hey, you have this Yule celebration, we have this really great Christmas celebration, let's party together.
Right. And
So-
all become one.
Right.
With one belief.
Exactly.
Whichever they're believing in.
Right.
There's really no right or no wrong.
There's
It's
no-
what your belief is.
Exactly. The core belief is, and it harm none. And you just kind of take that with you out into life. I still, I figure, yeah, everybody feels the way they do for a reason, and everybody has the right to their beliefs.
Hello, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Ruth Ann Capito, and my granddaughter Nicole Rek, and we're here to tell you about the Byzantine Catholic Church and their traditions. The Byzantine Catholic Church is under the Pope of Rome. The Pope, you may not know, has 24 different churches under him, each with their own traditions, their own symbolisms, their own rituals, and we are one of those 24. St. Peter and Paul Church, the church that I go to, is on East Market Street on the corner of Belvedere. You may have seen it, but I hope when you pass by again, you'll feel that you know more about our traditions. We're from the Eastern Rite. We are a Slavic church, and in our liturgy, we sing in English and in Slavonic, which is a combination of the many different Slavic nationalities. We're very similar in tradition to the Orthodox. However, the Orthodox are not under the Pope, but many of our symbols and traditions are the same. Similar to the Orthodox Church, we have icons. Our icons are beautifully painted pictures of events in the Bible and of holy men and women of our faith. The first thing to start off the Nativity season, we have a fast, and it's called St. Philip's Fast. We abstain from meat on Wednesdays and Fridays, and Christmas Eve, we also abstain from dairy products and eggs. What we do with this fast is we eat less at the table, and with the money that we save from meat and from eating less, the money is put toward the poor or toward a charity. Our church, we're supporting St. Vincent de Paul with their meal program this year, and we will do it from St. Philip's Fast on through the next year. On December 6th, we celebrate St. Nicholas Day. St. Nicholas Day is very important to our rite because St. Nicholas is the patron saint of the Byzantine. In our church, the children put on a program about St. Nicholas. The whole congregation goes out to dinner together. It's a really sweet tradition in the Orthodox Church that they do. St. Nicholas on North Road, before they're going into liturgy, they take their shoes off and they put them in the hall. And when they come back out again after the service, they find that there's a bag of small gifts and candy in the shoes that represent the giving nature of St. Nicholas.
Saint Nicholas is a 4th century Roman Catholic bishop who lived in Turkey. He was known for his generosity and his good deeds. In the Dutch language, Saint Nicholas is pronounced Sinterklaas, and today the young children still celebrate the coming of Sinterklaas, but today's children refer to him as Santa Claus.
During the Christmas season, closer to Christmas Eve, people in our parish, young and old, go out to sing Christmas carols to the nursing homes and to homebound parishioners. And then we come to Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve is the highlight of the Christmas season for us. We actually celebrate Christmas on Christmas Eve. We have a special supper that Nicole is going to tell you about.
The Holy Supper is celebrated on Christmas Eve. We put a candle in the window to let strangers know that they are welcome to our hospitality. Scriptures tell us that any stranger could be an angel unaware. The Holy Supper requires preparation and setting. We place hay on, around, or under the table. We place a white tablecloth on the table, a large round white loaf of bread in the center in between candles. These items symbolize the scene of Bethlehem when baby Jesus was born. The bread in the center represents Jesus, the bread of life. The tablecloth represents the swaddle he was clothed in. The hay is the manger that he was laid in, and then the candles represent the Star of Bethlehem. The family gathers around the table and always leaves an empty seat for the guest of unexpected. Whether it's a friend or a stranger, they are welcome to share the joys and hospitalities that the family has to offer. A variety of food is represented at the table. 12 dishes with no meat in accordance to the fast. These 12 dishes represent the 12 apostles. Nana, what are some of the dishes we could find?
Fish, vegetables. My favorite is pierogies. There's a honey on the table and cloves of garlic. We take the garlic and we dip it into the honey. And the garlic being bitter represents the bitterness of life. And the honey being sweet represents the sweetness, the sweet gifts that God gives us, which is hope, love, and faith.
The dinner begins when a young child goes outside and sees the first star. The child will come inside and let the family know it is time to begin. The first ones to be fed in the family are the animals. We do this to represent and respect the animals that were there with Mary the night Jesus was born. So whether you have pets at home, farm animals, or you go outside and feed the local wildlife, they get served first. The person who sits at the head of the table goes around with bread dipped in honey to each of his family members, wishing them good health and embracing them with love. The family will then share stories, sing songs, say prayer, and have moments of remembrance. But the night doesn't end there because there's still more to be celebrated.
At 6 o'clock, we go to liturgy. But first we have Compline. And Compline is a time that 8 selected parishioners who are seated throughout the church stand each one at a time and read 8 verses from the Bible related to the birth of Christ. And between each verse, the congregation sings a Christmas carol. After the 8th verse is read, the congregation says a few closing prayers, and then liturgy begins. We start the liturgy by singing, "O Come All Ye Faithful," and the bells of the church ring in unison. We then go through the liturgy, and at the end, as we're leaving, we greet each other with "Christ is born." And in the Slavonic language, it would be "Christos Ros Dietsa." And the response to that would be,
Glorify him.
Nicole and I would like to thank you all and wish you a blessed Christmas and a happy New Year.
Merry Christmas!
I'm Justine Thomas, and with me, Mike Mizenko. Mike, you're a non-denominational pastor of the Christian belief. This
Absolutely.
is our time of year. So tell everyone, where did the religion and belief come from?
Christmas, this time of year, is celebrated by Christians everywhere because of the birth, our firm belief that it's a celebration of the birth of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Plain and simple, that's the reason for the season. The most important thing is we all believe the same basic premise, that God sent His Son to be born and live and die here.
What's involved with the celebration?
Oh, the celebration can be whatever it is that you want, because it's a celebration from your heart. Just the idea of Christmas brings a lightness to everybody, and a smile. You see the glow. Families get together for meals and celebrations. And then you have all the people that attend their different religious services. They get a little bit more happier, a little bit more holy, a little bit more thinking about their actions and about other people. Donations to people that are in need go up, way up this time of year.
What religious tools do you use for your celebration?
Well, really the only tools that you can think about is basically like nativity scenes and little things like that. The cross.
Christmas tree.
Yeah, Christmas tree, absolutely. A lot of people think the cross. Well, the cross is a symbol of His death, not His birth.
What significance does this holiday mean?
It means everything. I mean, it's the start of a holy season. We celebrate the birth of Christ. And that's the only reason for the season.
It's an exciting time of year.
So Have I answered all your questions?
I think you have. Thanks, Santa.
Oh, not a problem, I'll tell you.
I want to say right now that I don't think Hanukkah would be any sort of big deal if it didn't happen to fall pretty close to Christmas. Um, just because it's in the Jewish cosmology, it's a really minor holiday by all accounts. Judaism is the oldest and sort of your no calf vanilla version of an Abrahamic religion. So, for example, Christianity has the Old Testament and the New Testament, but for us, the Old Testament is collected up into the Pentateuch, which is basically the Torah, which is the first 5 books, and then the Haftarah, which is all the stuff after the first 5 books. Judaism is different from, say, Christianity, because while that centers around the belief of Christ, Judaism is built around only a relationship with God. There isn't a savior in the same way. We used to have priests, but then the temple sort of got burned down, and now Judaism sort of works at a very local level. We have rabbis, which literally is an Aramaic word for teacher. So yeah, that's sort of the basics. We believe in one God, Adonai. We use Hebrew, and we have a strong belief in traditional prayers. So we use prayers that have been used for hundreds, bordering on thousands of years. Some of the prayers do appear to be thousands of years old. And yeah, it celebrates the victory of the Maccabees, who were a guerrilla warfare group in the 2nd century BCE, and the rededication of the Second Temple. Basically, the Persians had moved in, and they had specifically taken over the temple, which back in the day, temple was the ultimate Jewish monument. At this point, it was a centralized religion, and the Second Temple would be the equivalent of like St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, to sort of keep with the Catholic allegory. The Maccabees, despite having an extremely small force and much less well prepared than the Persians, were able to overthrow them and rededicate the temple. Hanukkah literally means dedication. So, for example, we eat a lot of sweet things and we gamble. There is a certain frame of mindset that any sort of gambling is a mitzvah or a good deed during Hanukkah. But the traditional way to do it is with a dreidel, which is this little top. It has 4 Hebrew letters that have 4 different effects on the pot and what's in the middle. And basically you spin it, you put gelt, which are chocolate coins, though they used to be like actual coins, but now gelt refers entirely to chocolate coins, into the middle, or you take it out depending on what you get. The other big thing that Hanukkah commemorates, the more religious or divine perhaps side of it, because dedicating a temple is very religious, but it's people doing it, if you see what I mean, is the miracle of the oil. And the miracle of the oil is basically when the Maccabees hit the temple, they discover that there's only enough oil to light the eternal lamp for one night. And you're supposed to keep the eternal lamp lit always, hence the eternal part of that statement. But basically, the Maccabees decide, okay, we're going to put it in, we're going to let it burn for as long as it can. And then, by a miracle, this oil that was supposed to last one night lasted 8. And the way that that is shown is through this. So this is a Hanukkah. It's also called a menorah, and it is a 9-candle candelabra. These used to be made with oil, where you would literally have a little pool of oil in each of these. but they switched to candles in AD. I'm not sure exactly when. I know that some. I think that the more intense hyper Orthodox Jews still use oil, but you start with the center candle called the shamash, or the helper candle, and you light that, and then you add candles on these prongs that are not elevated, one for every day of Hanukkah. One for every night, excuse me, that's important. It's not days, it's nights, because the flame needed to last through the night. So you start by putting them right to left, but then you light them left to right. And that was come up with by a bunch of rabbis who said, well, every day should get equal shift. And everybody said, well, but if every day is getting equal shift, aren't we sort of doing this in an order already? So doesn't that give preference to the first day? And they go, well, how about we have the last day lit first before the first day? How does that sound? I think that sort of epitomizes Jewish thought in a way, and the fact that we were arguing over that. Yeah, and so you light this. Traditionally, you put it in a window where it can be seen outside, and it's sort of kindling flame in winter is also, I think, a strong image, right? It suggests light in the darkest times. And also of critical importance, you always let the candles go to the end. You never put them out, because that would ruin the metaphor. And yeah, that's the big stuff. Oh, so the other thing though, and this is the rad part, well, it's all pretty rad, I think, but it's also more specifically a festival of oil, right? Because it's the oil that lasted so long. So we make jelly donuts, because you have to fry them in oil. And we also make latkes, which are potato pancakes, which are fried in oil. And it's amazing. And especially in winter, I don't know what things are like where you are. Well, I have a vague knowledge that there's some snow. It has been pouring snow this whole week out here. And so it's kind of nice. You're out in the cold all day, you come back and you've got this nice fatty meal. That's delicious, right? It's fried potatoes and then fried dough with sugar. What's not to love?
Hi, I'm Cindee Mines, and I've been a Methodist all my life, probably because my paternal grandfather was a Methodist minister. I am going to show and tell some of the traditions that the Methodists have to celebrate the holiday of Christmas. It starts with Advent, which marks the beginning of the Christian calendar. Advent means coming, so we are celebrating the coming or birth of our Savior Jesus Christ. Advent begins on the Sunday closest to November 30th, which is the feast of St. Andrew, and is celebrated for the next 4 Sundays. Andrew was the first disciple, and Christmas is the first Advent season, with Lent and Easter being the second. Many churches have a hanging of the green on the first Advent Sunday to decorate their church. Advent studies, either individually or in a group, are a very popular way to help us in the waiting and preparation for the birth of Jesus. The liturgical color for Advent is purple or blue and is reflected in the color of the altar cloth and the candles. An important part of the worship service during this time is the Advent wreath. It has 4 or 5 candles representing different aspects of the spiritual preparation for the coming of the Lord. Each light from the candle reflects the light of Christ into the world, and each candle has a different meaning in the preparation for Christmas. The first candle is purple or blue and is the prophecy or hope candle. The second candle is also purple or blue and is the Bethlehem or love candle. The third one is pink and represents the shepherd's rejoicing or joy. And the fourth candle is also purple or blue for angels or peace. Our church uses 5 candles, and the 5th candle or center candle is white and is the Christ candle, representing purity, and it is lit on Christmas Eve. Among other traditions used in some homes is the Jesse tree or Advent tree. And this is a photo of the one that we used in my house when my children were young. They are usually in the shape of a Christmas tree, and the families hang a decoration each day to count down the time during Advent. Combining this with the family Advent study is an excellent way to help children understand the meaning of the Christmas season. Hymns and music are, of course, one of the best parts of Advent. Most churches have a special Sunday cantata that the choir prepares for and presents to the congregation on the second or third Advent Sunday. One of the most famous presentations of Christmas music is Handel's Messiah. This oratorio is absolutely beautiful, and if you have not heard it, you should make a point to do so. A typical hymn sung during the Christmas Eve service for many Methodists is Silent Night. Our church usually gathers in a circle with a small candle, and the lights are dimmed during the singing of this hymn. It is a very moving experience for me every year. Even when we happened to be in Myrtle Beach on one Christmas Eve, the Methodist service was essentially the same, with Silent Night and the candles in the service, which made me feel very comfortable. Lastly, we cannot talk about celebrating the arrival of Jesus without mentioning the manger scene. It is the most important symbol of Advent in the Christian church. One of our pastors refused to have the baby Jesus in the creche before Christmas Day. Luke 2, 1-7 tells us the birth of Christ, and it is a common biblical reading on Christmas Eve. Verses 8-12 tells the story of the angels appearing to the shepherds. Although the three wise men are included in most manger scenes, they really didn't arrive to give Jesus his presents until later, and this arrival is celebrated on January 6th, which is Epiphany. This is represented by the Christmas song, 12 Days of Christmas. Many people take down decorations and trees on New Year's Day, but I always wait until after Epiphany so that I can remember to celebrate the arrival of the three wise men. Then I know my Christmas season of Advent is complete. Thank you.
Kwanzaa also represents the future. It's about the future. It's organized for us to acknowledge the importance of our past. It's based on tradition. Tradition being very important as far as the foundation that our ancestors' lives were based on. Our lives, our parents' lives are based on Kwanzaa. Started in 1966, and Nguzo South preceded the Kwanzaa celebration, but Kwanzaa is based on the Nguzo South, but the actual practice was put in place of the Nguzo South with the 7 principles in 1965. And Malala Karanga, Dr. Karanga, basically came up with the 7 principles as a minimum moral value system. I gave him a call because I was asking him, is it possible to add another principle? He said, well, it is the minimum moral value system, so you can't add another principle. I said, well, we've worked with young people over the years. The principle and a value that was very important to them was the value of Hashima. And Hashima means respect. We practice what is called the Nguzo Nani. Nani in Kiswahili is 8. So, you know, the 8 principles. But the 7 principles that most people are familiar with, you know, are very important principles, and I use it interchangeably with values. Values are important because values are things that are important to us. Usually in working with young people, and they may have maybe difficulty in expressing what a value is, a question I usually will ask them is, what are you willing, and this is extreme, what are you willing to die for? And you know, when I mention that, there's an African proverb that goes, I am because we are, therefore I am, which shows the importance and the connection between the I and the we. And you know, the Nguzo Saba represents that, the importance of not only being concerned about yourself, but also being concerned about others. But let me just share a little bit about Kwanzaa, you know, from a personal perspective. the primary place that Kwanzaa is supposed to be practiced is within the family. In 1969, my wife, myself, and our first child. And then from that point on, every year, we were involved in celebrating Kwanzaa, within our family. And then it progressed to, a secondary place for celebrating Kwanzaa is within the community itself. Because Kwanzaa is an in-gathering celebration. It's an in-gathering celebration where family comes together and community comes together. Again, to give thanks for coming through the year and to prepare for the new year. We might as well come together and create an organization to have what ended up becoming the Greater Cleveland Kwanzaa Alliance. So that was in 1983. Thinking back upon Kwanzaa, there was a lot of resistance, I remember, because back then and even today, I'm ashamed to say there are a lot of folks that still have problems with being identified with Africa and being called Africans, which is nothing more than a reflection on the environment that they live in. They say they don't like it, but how are you not going to like it when you don't know anything about it? You don't have any sense of history, you don't have any information on it. But that's the way a lot of people react when there's something new and they don't want to deal with it. Now, to me, Kwanzaa is important because Kwanzaa reflects culture. And to me, Kwanzaa is like glue. It's what holds things together. 400 years ago, there were 20 and odd that were kidnapped from West Africa, specifically the countries of Angola, Congo. They were Angolan Congolese that were brought to this country and were brought here for the purpose of being enslaved. A lot of people think that we came here as slaves. Did we come here as slaves? We came here as what?
What did we come here?
Africans. We arrived as Africans that went through an enslavement process. But all those things represent, the foundation and the history relative to Kwanzaa, because Kwanzaa is a time, you come together, you reminisce about our history and the importance of our history. You reminisce and you share about our culture and the importance of their culture. Okay. Kwanzaa is also important because it's a time not only of celebration, ingathering, but it's also a time of remembrance, giving thanks to those that have come before us because of their blood, their sweat, and their tears. So, during Kwanzaa, we want to recognize within our family and those heroes and sheroes of the past, those heroes and sheroes today, the elders, those in your lives that have been very positive. Giving thanks is very important. Thanksgiving for everything that we have is very important. So there's something greater than us, whatever that is relative to whatever you believe in as far as religion and denomination of those religions. We know that there is something greater than all of us, and we want to give thanks to that. Kwanzaa is like a baton and a relay. There's certain traditions, there's certain cultural things that we want to pass on to you, because life is like a relay. I'm not going to be around forever. So we're preparing you to take our places.
Hi, my name is Afreen Hussain, and I am the Public Relations Officer for Masjid Al-Khair. We are a non-denominational Islamic mosque located in Youngstown, Ohio, which serves all Muslims. Islam is a peaceful religion based on one main ideology, which is the oneness of God. It is based on 5 main pillars, which are as follows. The most important one is the Shahada, which is the proclamation that there is only one God and that Muhammad was his messenger. The second one is called Salat, in which Muslims are required to pray at 5 set times throughout the day. The fourth is Zakat, which is the mandatory payment which is made by all Muslims who can afford to make it for charitable purposes. And the last is the Hajj, which is the pilgrimage that we take to Mecca and Medina, Saudi Arabia, at least once in our lifetimes if we are financially and physically capable. Although we do not celebrate anything specific during this time of year, we do have several very important religious celebrations. Perhaps the most internationally known is the month of Ramadan. This is a 29 to 30 day period of time which follows the lunar calendar. The lunar calendar does not exactly match up with the Gregorian calendar, so therefore the month of fasting actually shifts about 10 days every year. So currently it's falling in the spring. During the month of Ramadan, it is required to fast from sunup to sundown. We are to abstain from food, drink, and sexual activity in order to test our self-control. We also try to be the very best versions of ourselves as possible. Although lying and cursing are never permissible, during Ramadan it is especially important to keep our hearts, tongues, and minds as pure as possible. Finally, another very important aspect of Ramadan is charity. Much like during the Christmas season, Muslims are encouraged to help the less fortunate the most during this time of year. Islamic traditions call for people to wake up before sunrise in order to eat a small meal. As my family is from India, our traditional meals are very North Indian. At sunset, when our fasts break, we typically drink water and eat a date, which is a fruit commonly found in the Middle East. My family also includes traditional Indian street foods such as samosas, which is basically a fried dumpling, or pakoras, which is a fried vegetable fritter. We eat a full dinner, and the whole process starts all over again the next morning. Fasting usually starts around the pubertal ages. Any pregnant or menstruating women or the sick or elderly are exempt from fasting because of health reasons. The day after Ramadan ends is a very important day of celebration for us called Eid al-Fitr. This is a very important day of community, and we usually gather together for Eid prayer at the mosque, and then spend the rest of the day celebrating with our family and friends, exchanging gifts, eating, and socializing. Although our religion does not celebrate Christmas or Easter, we recognize Jesus as a messenger of God, and his mother Mary as perhaps the most important female role in our religion. She even has a chapter named after her in the Quran, which is our holy text. We believe in Adam, Eve, Noah, Abraham, Moses, and many of the other pivotal characters in the Judeo-Christian faiths. Our religions may have different names and traditions, but are all based on the oneness of God and thus have many similarities. It is my hope that interfaith dialogue helps us to bridge the gap of understanding between the religions. And I have brought some items that would be used in our day-to-day lives. The most important that I have brought is a prayer mat. We lay this on the floor because we're not always sure as to the cleanliness of the environment, so we keep our prayer mats clean. We lay them on the floor. We point them towards Mecca, and this is where we pray 5 times a day. It can be done anywhere, outdoors, indoors, but on a flat surface, and we try to keep them as clean as possible. The next is my headscarf. Muslim women are to keep their heads covered, and although not all of us do, myself included, during the time where we pray, we keep our heads covered, as that is part of the prayer itself. And the last thing that I brought is a box of dates, because this is how we break our fast traditionally. This is how we believe that the Prophet Muhammad broke his fast, because this was the most commonly found fruit in the Middle East, and not only that, it has a large amount of sugar which provides immediate nutrients after a full day of fasting. We have separate prayer rooms in our mosque. We have an upstairs hall for women and a downstairs hall for men. However, if the congregation is smaller, you'll find men and women in the same room, but typically the men will pray in their own rows and the women will pray in their own rows. So there is no intermingling, if you will. If you could walk away from anything after this little talk, I would like you to walk away with the fact that we are peace-loving people. We are like everybody else who you would meet. We are not extremists by nature, and like every religion, every subgroup, every race, ethnicity, there are extremists among us who make our names look bad, but that is not who we are as a faith. We always unequivocally denounce those acts of terror, and we promote peace around the world.
Hi, I'm Melanie Vincent, and I'm a board member here at the Warren Heritage Center. And we hope that you enjoyed the celebration of the holiday season that we had put together for you. This was all about learning and understanding that there are more than one holidays to celebrate this time of year. And together, we had put together a great group of people to come and describe to you how they celebrate their holiday season. And I would like to give those people a thank you. And this go out to Afreen Hussain, Mike Mizenko, Melissa Keene, Cindee Mines, Ruth Ann Capito and her granddaughter, Nicole Rek, Elder Paul Hill Jr., Cole Stern, Cybele for their display, Justine Barko Thomas, and then those that have helped me behind the scenes get this all together would be Debbie Kennedy, Cindee Mines, Jim Valesky, and Allie V. All of us from the Warren Heritage Center would like to wish you all a very happy, healthy, and joyous holiday season. Thank you.